Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross-stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross-stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And I've been doing some stats and getting my notes together in prep for this episode, and I've surprised myself by how many pieces I've been able to touch and work on since we last caught up. And it was really only roughly a week ago that we caught up and you got to see what I've been working on. So without further ado, let's get into it because today is Friday, the 5th of September, and I'm excited about a whole heap of stuff to share with you. Okay, so the first few projects that I have to share with you are a flow on from a bit of the AFL Stitching challenge that I've been doing, and I've taken a slight pause from it since we're now on, or now in rather, September. And I'm trying to do a little bit of the spooky stitching, sweewy kind of things where I don't have any specific plans with regards to my September stitching, but I'll get into that fairly soon. However, the AFL Stitching Challenge, it's quite similar to the American football stitching challenge that some people I've watched on Flosstube have been doing. And the first project that I have to share with you is called B&S Ball. It's a mini project that I have been working on, and I actually need to go and get the cover page. Bear with me. Okay, so B&S Ball is a hot cross stitching design, and this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. This was a piece that I had designed for the Great Aussie Shindig that had occurred at the start of this year, around the 25th, 26th of January. And for anyone who did participate in the Great Aussie Shindig, that particular chart is included in the special booklet that may have been available for purchase as well. So what I'm doing at the moment is stitching or model stitching the piece, and when I've finished model stitching it, I'll make it publicly available on the Hot Cross Stitching website. So this is where I'm at so far. I'm stitching this 1/1 on the 25 count easy grid fabric using DMC floss, and so far so good. I focus mostly on the banner here. With the B&S Ball, I have got this particular project assigned to the AFL team North Melbourne Kangaroos. The North Melbourne Kangaroos didn't do great this year. They have been known for a very long time in the AFL world for never never doing very well, never ranking too highly within the fixture, which is quite disappointing because, as a bit of a side note, once the season of AFL and once the grand final and such has all been played and the dust settles, everyone has been able to celebrate their wins, losses, and so forth. When the teams get round to picking the new teams and drafts and new players to join the team, what typically happens is the teams that finished at the very bottom or very low end of the ladder, they usually get first picks at the very well or number one players or something very similar to that. I don't fully understand the process very well, so sadly I am butchering the way of being able to describe all of this, and I apologize. So what I understand though is the Kangaroos should be getting quite a lot of really good players to join their team because they have ranked very low on the ladder for several years, yet they have rarely been able to get up very high on the ladder and get even remotely close to the top 8, which would enable them to eventually try and have a crack at the grand final. So that's just one of those really weird and disappointing things. So with the stitches that are put into B&S Ball, it was 402 stitches, 1/1, full cross, and that was well and truly more than any of the points that they scored as a combined total, because sadly they didn't win many games. With all of that said, the next piece that I have to share with you that got a little bit of love, and I'm still due to put some more time and effort into it in months to come, is a piece called Pelicans. It is a Country Threads design. So this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. I'm stitching this on what I believe to be 14 count Ada. I don't remember the colour that the fabric has been dyed. This is where I'm at so far. I focus mostly on the 10th stitch that we see for the sky and a little bit of the tan colours near the pelican's wing, or the ends of its wings. So with this particular piece, it is assigned to the Sydney Swans. Sadly, this year, Swans did not make the top 8, and it is probably the first time out of about 12 years, give or take, that they've not made the top 8. It was to be expected, though. This year, Swans did get a new coach because their previous coach decided that they had been coached for long enough, and that was part of their succession plan to go about all of that. So that's where, in my headspace at least, I was not expecting Swans to make the top 8, because as a team they needed to get used to a new coach and a slightly different way of doing things. They also had some new players come to the team. They had some players who had been part of the team for a long time either retire or move on to other teams. So all of those things combined, that's why I was not expecting them to do very well, sadly. So since we last caught up and talked about the Country Threads Pelicans, I've put in 330 stitches. There's still hundreds more stitches to go, because Swans did win a few games, and some of those games were pretty well high scoring. So we'll get there. As time goes on, I'll be able to share more with you on that one. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is my semi-regular piece that has nothing to do with the AFL Stitching Challenge or anything like that. And it is the Under the Sea piece by Needlecraft. I'll get the details there. I actually have, in front of me, this book that I was gifted through work as a not quite Secret Santa, but it was like a Merry Christmas type of piece. And I don't have it written down. I really should have written down Under the Sea and the details connected to it. Anyway, the cover page will be up there, and it is an exclusive design by Dureene Jones for the needlecraft store that I purchased online, who are based over in the UK. Anyway, the point is, this is where I'm at. I mostly worked where we see the pearl over in the bottom corner. I'm stitching this on a piece of fabric called Tropical Ocean. It's 28 count even weave, It's an opalescent, and I'm stitching this 2/2 using all of the called for colours. And if you are new to this channel and this is the first episode that you are seeing all of this on, I'm stitching Under the Sea for next year's Canberra Royal Show entrance. I'm going to enter that particular piece into the Canberra Royal Show, and the theme for next year is called Under the Sea. The fantastic thing is that there are quite a few Under the Sea cross-stitch pieces out there, or designs out there rather, that are called Under the Sea. So I am super keen to go to the Canberra show next year to actually check out all the entrants and see how many pieces are called Under the Sea and how many variations there are. It's all working out very good. Now, with Under the Sea, the amount of... No, I didn't note down how many stitches I put in for Under the Sea because it is whilst I received it as a digital chart, I chose to print it out because I had some problems with importing it into Pattern Keeper, and I've just been keen to get started on it. So as much as I could have fiddled around with getting it imported, starting the stitching to me is more important. So anyway, that's all okay. We'll get there. Now, let's see. The next piece that I have to share with you is connected to the AFL Stitching Challenge that I've set for myself. And it is the piece called I Am a Custodian by the Black Needle Society. This is from their seasons 1 and 2 stitching box. And I'm enjoying this so far. It's taken me a little bit to get back into it. What I'm super excited about is that here in Australia, the last Downton Abbey movie is going to be released. And okay, today is the 5th, so next week, Thursday, around the 11th of September, is when the last installment of the Downton Abbey series is going to be released. So I'm going to take myself to the movies at some stage, hopefully before school holidays kick in. Here in Australia, and at least in New South Wales / ACT, school holidays are due to kick in around end of September, early October. I don't want to beat the rush. So it's going to be a really, really good morning to be able to take myself to the movies and see it, because it feels like it's been ages since I've gone to the movies. With all of that said, let's see the bit of stitching we've done. So this is where I'm at for I Am a Custodian. I'm stitching this on a 32 count misdyed fabric by Publicaly Designs. I'm stitching this 2/2. It is a 32 count fabric, if I didn't mention already, and this has been a lot of fun to work on so far. I think this is meant to be a medium quarter or a fat quarter. I can't remember exactly. With that said, I have put in 251 stitches of I Am a Custodian, and I'm using all of the called for colours. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is called Trio of Dogs, and it's part of the AFL Stitching Challenge. Before I do move on to that, I do want to note that I Am a Custodian is assigned to a team called the Essendon Bombers. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a stretch to get there, so for how it's connected, so please bear with me. Bombers are a type of aeroplane. Bombers, in my headspace, were used in especially the 1940s or so during World War II. They may have potentially started being used for World War One. that part I'm not certain of. I feel like I'm leaning more towards the 1940s. And whilst Downton Abbey actually stretches over many decades, especially with the movie that's going to be coming out, my understanding is the era that they're covering is around the 1930s, 1940s, because the little bit of shorts that I've seen for the movie, there's a little bit there where it's announced that England is going to war again for World War II. So that's my very far leap of how I'm connecting I Am a Custodian to the Essendon Bombers, because the Essendon Bombers have team colours of black and red. I could have used other projects as well for the Bombers. However, I've mentioned in some recent episodes where I'm keen to get some work done on I Am Custodian in the lead up to April next year, when the next box is going to be delivered, and we are going to be working on seasons 2 and 3 of the Downton Abbey stitching box for the Black Needle Society. So I'm looking forward to that online stitching retreat. It's going to be an absolute blast. Okay, so let's get on to a trio of dogs. I have it in a stitching bag that I'm feeling a little bit awkward with, so please bear with. Now, Trio of Dogs is a Luca S kit that I've had for quite some time. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. I'm using all of the called for thread, fabric, and the like. And this is where I'm up to so far. I have this particular project assigned to the Western Bulldogs. West Melbourne Bulldogs? No, Western Bulldogs. And I've put in 235 stitches, working mostly over here. So again, this particular piece is having a slight break while I'm going to be doing the September stitching. So that's going to be super cool. Okay. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is called Fight Like a Girl. Now, I've put roughly, give or take, 300 stitches into it. I'd forgotten to actually note down the number of stitches that I put into the piece before I'd gone to bed. And on Pattern Keeper, I have it set up that at, I think it's either midnight or 4 in the morning, it resets the number of stitches or the stitch count per day. So just looking for cover page. So Fight Like a Girl is designed by Tanya Amity, based on the illustration by Elena Gnedkova. This is roughly what it'll look like, and on the computer screen it's looking a bit dark. I'm trying not to get too much of a reflection showing up here. Now, with this particular piece, I have at least 2 teams assigned to it. I have the Melbourne Demons, which are a blue and red team colours, and also Brisbane Lions. And just based on their name, Lions, I've got a lion in the piece. So this is where I'm up to so far. This is being stitched on 18 count navy blue Ada. I have put in, like I was mentioning, a bit over 300 stitches. I think I'm nearly evened up now, and it'll be good to eventually get back to it when September and a bit of October are done. Okay, that's it for the AFL stitching. Actually, hang on. There's still a little bit of stitching for AFL. However, the next bit of stitching I have can also fit in a little bit with the September spooky stitching as well. So I just need to get a little bit more organised and we'll get into it super soon. Okay, so this is now the spooky September stitching that I'm doing, and what I've decided to do for this month, or if not, I have done for this week at least, is stitching what I want when I want within the spooky supernatural kind of theme. And in some cases it's loosely fitting, and I'm saying loosely fitting because of the next piece that I'm about to share with you. And this particular piece does fit within the AFL stitching realm as well, because I have shared with you its progress in association with the Port Adelaide people. So this particular piece is called Pisces, and this particular piece is a combination of a quote and a picture that I really, really like. So the picture is of the Pisces symbol and the two fishes that represent Pisces as well. And I am stitching this 2/2 on 28 count even weave. I focus mostly towards the bottom here, and I got on Monday 294 stitches into it. If I'm desperate, I may go back and attribute that to Port Adelaide when I get back to the AFL Stitching Challenge. However, within the scope of supernatural and spooky and that kind of thing, astrology to an extent can fit within, and this is loosely based, fit within the realm of the supernatural and spooky and that kind of thing. Even though astrology has been around for a very long time, it's not fully recognized within the realm of science and anything being firm that you can bank your house on or anything like that. However, there are a lot of people, including myself, who have a strong interest or keen interest in astrology and how star signs and the planets moving around can have an influence on people's moods, and it influences the tide and all the rest. And a lot of fishermen, they use the tides to then figure out as to when would be a great time to go fishing, that kind of thing, and determine to some extent how the fishes may perhaps behave to then figure out how successful they may or may not be with the fishing. So also with astrology, it can, to an extent, give you a bit of guidance to say, okay, well, in the next few days, this may happen or that might happen. Also fully acknowledging that everyone has free will. So you may get some kind of guidance through the tarot cards or through astrology or anything similar to that to say that, okay, well, your lucky numbers are this, this, and this, and you may choose to do something about that or not. And it can also be up to you as to how you interpret all of that information or decide that it's a load of baloney. Anyway, each person is different. However, I know I've been working on this for some time, and I just need to try and find the cover page for it. The digital cover page I have is a lot better than the printout that I have, because when I had printed out Pisces, the ink started running out during the printing process, which makes it a little bit awkward for showing just how cool I think the colours are for this piece. And here we are. Okay, so this is roughly what it's going to look like when it's done. Noting that even with what we see here, I am needing to take a bit of creative license with it, because when I started stitching this piece, my headspace was in the 2/2 mode, it should have been 1/1. And if I continue along the line of 2/2, I'm running out of space fabric-wise. Also, with the quote, it's not appearing very well, and it says Pisces. Not everyone gets the same version of me. One person will tell you I'm a beautiful soul. Another will tell you I'm a cold-hearted arsehole. Believe both. I act accordingly. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one eventually finished. The next piece that I worked on Monday, so this is Monday, 1st of September, I worked on a piece called Shrooms. Now, Shrooms is based on the artwork by John Shannon, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. With this particular piece, I've chosen to start in the middle and stitch this 1/1 on black even weave. By memory, this is 28 count even weave, and this is where I'm up to. On Monday, the 1st of September, I put 290 stitches into this. 290 stitches as far as full coverage is concerned, especially a Heaven and Earth design. It's like a drop in the water, drop in the ocean. It doesn't really look like much. So I hope to be able to get a bit more done, and it'll look better as time goes on. It is a cool piece though. Also noting that I had started Shrooms last year, perhaps roughly this time last year. It'll be good to get it done. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you that I worked on Monday, 1st of September, is called Moonlit Waters. It is another Heaven and Earth design chart based on artwork by Julie Fain. I've been working on this piece off and on for quite some time, and this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. I had first started stitching this piece on a physical chart, and then as time went on, I realized that Pattern Keeper was definitely the way to go for stitching these kind of pieces. So this is where I'm up to. My stitching was mostly concentrated up the top here, and I put in 277 stitches. This is being stitched on even weave, perhaps the 28 count, and I'm using all of the called for colours of DMC. Now, I want to pause for just a moment and talk a little bit about haul, because since we last caught up, I needed to put an order in to get some more colours for a hot cross stitching design called Black and White Rolled Up Daisy. I ran out of a few colours and I was getting a bit low on others that I needed to use for that piece. So I popped onto the JK cross stitching site and also figured that threads cannot travel alone. They need to have something to travel with to make it fully worthwhile. So I started looking at some of the fabrics and thinking a little bit about building my stash a bit more because, hey, I don't have enough fabric, surely. And I've got a lot of designs that I want to stitch, whether they be hot cross stitching designs or others that are in my stash or ones that I've not purchased yet. So the DMC threads, they're boring. I'll leave them as they are. Won't worry about sharing them with you. However, the fabric, I think, needs to be shared because it's not the traditional kind of fabric that I would normally purchase. So the first piece of fabric that I purchased is a Pellicans Designs piece, and it is an 18 count Ada. It's a medium size, so I'm not quite sure, can't remember exactly what the measurements work out to being. The fabric is called Mermaidia, and this is what it looks like. This, I just love these colours. These look so pretty and so cool. Initially, I was going to use this fabric for a chart that I purchased on Etsy. And then when it came time to starting this particular chart that I'll share with you fairly soon, I then started eyeing off some other fabric that is Paddock Lane Designs fabric that I purchased about a year ago when I went to the JK cross stitch retreat up on the Central Coast. And I decided that that fabric suited the piece more than this one. So I have some thoughts and ideas of what I could put on this piece. Based on the colours here, I'm thinking that it should be like the name of the fabric suggests, a mermaid or a fairy or something within that realm of creatures. I have some charts, physical charts I need to go back and look at. However, they are in Canberra, so I'd need to go back and have a look at some things. Anyway, so that's one bit of fabric. The next piece of fabric that needed to come along with it, again, is a Paddock Lane Designs fabric. It's an 18 count called Pumpkin, 18 count Ada, and this is the fabric. This is just absolutely yummy. I love it. I think I might stitch another piece on this. I've got an idea. So I'm being vague here because I don't want to give away too much because I need to show you the actual cover pages of the charts that I purchased as well. So this particular fabric I think will go very well with the chart I have in mind. So this is definitely going to fit within the realm of the spooky stitching as far as September and October are concerned. And last but not least is a piece called Royal Princess. It is a Paddock Lane Designs fabric. It is a 32 count opalescent even weave, and I just need to do some crinkling to get it out of its packaging. And this is the beautiful fabric of the princess. I haven't fully decided what I'll stitch on this just yet. Actually, I have decided. Sorry, my apologies. This particular fabric I think will fit very well with another chart that I purchased on Etsy very recently. And when I mention what it is, it's going to make sense. So, without further ado, let's start talking about the charts that I purchased from Etsy. It was just the three, and the first one that I have to share with you is also a new start. And this is one that surprised me quite a lot because I know that in our last episode I was talking about Quakers and samplers and September and how it's typically sampler September, and that nothing has really ever jumped out at me to say that I need to stitch it. So this particular chart that I've purchased is one that I've seen many other people stitch on, and I just need to turn this around just a little bit. So this is called Halloween Quaker by Lila Studio, and this is roughly what it would look like when it's done. Now, what I'm doing with Halloween Quaker is I've chosen to stitch this on fabric that I purchased last year, as I mentioned. Now, the fabric is called Turbulent by Paddock Lane Designs, and it's a 36 count linen, and it's a medium fat quarter, which measures on the label here to be about 50 by 55 centimeters. Now, roughly this time last year, I did actually stitch on this. I did like a really cute little motif of a bat. So this was the bat that I had stitched on last year. And this is my start on the Quaker. So what I'm doing with the Quaker is that I'm wanting to use a lot of the threads that I've received over the years or purchased through my own loving and liking of the threads. I want to try and still kind of stick to the colours that are charted in this Quaker. I am, however, doing my own spin on it by using threads, as I mentioned, that I've received through stitching boxes and that I've purchased at stores, but not having any idea of where I'd actually use the threads. So what this means is the flower that we see here, I've used the thread called Hello Mary, and it's from the Gilmore Girls stitching box. It may have been the first box that this thread had arrived in. I'm guessing, I can't quite remember. And then with the motif that we see with the dark brown, if not, it's a dark brown. It's meant to be, as far as DMC is concerned, 3371. And then that is called, this particular thread that I've used here is called Big Head Want Dolly. Again, it is from one of the Gilmore Girls stitching boxes. It's based on Lorelai telling the story of when she was a child that she apparently had an abnormally or unusually large head for a child, and her mother, without doubt, would remind her of that. So that inspired the thread. Also, if you know Gilmore Girls at all, and Lauren Graham, the colour of her hair. The orange here is just a standard orange that was left over from, I think it was the Bothy Threads kit that I stitched. That was the Dictionary of Dogs. So this is just a leftover orange from that. And as time goes on, I'll be able to share with you other threads that I'm going to incorporate into this. I have done a little bit of a floss drop to see how the colours might work. They're not set in stone, so we'll wait and see how things go for that. So that's the first chart that I purchased. The next chart that I have to share with you, I actually had trouble getting into Pattern Keeper, and I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to share this with you. So I'm just going to see if button pressing will work. Let's just wait and see. Hang on, I'll be back soon. Okay, the next chart that I purchased is from the Witchy Stitcher, and it's called Apothecary Shop. This is roughly what it'll look like when it's done. And it was this pumpkin fabric that I was thinking of stitching with Apothecary Shop. I do acknowledge that with the fabric that is used for the cover page or the model stitch, it is more of an ochre colour rather than the oranges that we see with the pumpkin fabric. However, I still think that it could work, and whilst Apothecary Shop uses varying degrees or varying amount of strands rather of DMC 310, I have another idea where, again, I still want to incorporate some of the specialty threads that I've collected over the years through, again, like I'm saying, with purchases that I've made or even through the stitching boxes that I've been part of as well. So it's a little bit of watch this space, and there may be more of a colourful appearance rather than the black and just letting the fabric speak for itself. What I'm keen on doing is still doing the chart justice and the fabric justice and making it more colourful and using colours that complement each other greatly. So I'm thinking out loud a little bit here still. Time will tell. Now, the next piece that I had purchased, or next chart rather that I purchased, I'm just scrolling through to find. And from the Witchy Stitcher, I had also purchased, just waiting for this to stop buffering, here we go, is called Stephen King House from the Witchy Stitcher. This is roughly what it will look like when it's done. And rather than using the fabric that has been used for the model stitch, this is where I was thinking of using this princess fabric instead. Whilst this is more of a pinky colour rather than like a red tone, or even the smoky colours that we see for the Stephen King house, I still think that this could be interesting though. It'd still be quite cool and complimentary of the amazing work that the Witchy Stitcher has done for this chart. So this will be cool. This will take a little bit of time, but I think it'll be worth it. It'll be very, very much well worth it, I think. So that is it for haul. I still have some more stitching to share with you though, within the realm of the spooky stitching and my plans and all the rest that goes with it. So what I'm doing now is finding the cover page for the next chart that I worked on, and it is called The Reader. I actually worked on this for a couple of days, and where are we? Okay, so The Reader is based on artwork by Lisa Parker, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. So that's roughly what The Reader will look like when it's done. And this was also a chart, and I apologise for the banging clanging going on here. I restarted this chart last year, or restarted the stitching for this chart last year because I was feeling annoyed with the fabric that I was using. I was stitching at 1/1 on this 32 count fabric, and it was a dark fabric. I was really unhappy with how it was woven because it was a linen, and I don't remember exactly where I got the linen from. That's by the by. So this is where I'm at. I'm stitching this on the, I think this is 25 count easy grid fabric. Now these pink lines are actually gridded as 20 by 20 rather than the 10 by 10 that we're all accustomed to. So up here I'd started doing this as tent stitch, and it's still tent stitch. What we see up here is the 2 strands, and I was super unhappy with the coverage I was getting with it. So I've now switched over to 3 strands, tent stitch, and I'm a lot happier with how that's turning out. And eventually I'll work down and down to the middle. So what I did a couple of days ago was calculate and count out where the center is, and let's see if I can get this folded up just a little bit more, just so it makes life just that little bit easier. So this is in the middle, stitching 1/1, and I am a lot happier with how this is turning out. There is a lot of confetti in the center at the moment, which is something that has turned me off from doing the not the full coverage. The wording is not coming to me right now. The extreme cross-country stitching, that's the wording that I'm looking for. So what I learned from stitching the Grinch Santa Claus was that whilst I did see a lot of progress on a quicker scale, or quicker time frame rather, doing the extreme cross country, when it came time to doing the finer stitches, or the ninja stitches as some people call them, or even the confetti stitches that I've grown accustomed to calling it, that became an absolute pain in the neck to figure out where these little stitches were within my actual stitching. And At the moment with stitching in the centre, I'm in the mode at the moment of being okay with doing the one by one and changing the threads quite a lot. So we'll see how things go. The great thing, as we've seen with that particular piece, I know that I can swap and change a little bit. So if I'm needing a break from confetti stitching, I know that I can go and do some tent stitching and get the numbers sky high again for how much I stitched in that time frame that I allowed for myself, and it's all good. So with the reader on Wednesday, the 3rd of September, I put in a total of 506 stitches. 210 of them were the tent stitches, and with the Halloween Quaker, I've put in a little over on Wednesday when I started it. I put in 442 stitches, and then on Thursday, yesterday, the 4th of September, I put 360 stitches into the reader, and then 378 stitches of the Halloween Quaker. So that I think is pretty cool. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you doesn't quite fit within the realm of what spooky stitching is. However, I love the fabric that I'm stitching this on. So the next piece I have to share with you is called Patient Stitcher. And sorry for the noise here. Okay, so this is what Patient Stitcher will roughly look like when it's done. I bought this chart last year at the JK cross stitching retreat at the Central Coast, and the fabric that I'm stitching it on is called Veronica May. It's by Paddock Lane Designs. It's an 18 count Ada that I received for free from the wonderful lady that I was sharing the stitching table with, and I've had an absolute mental blank. Her name will come to me very soon because I am a follower of her Flosstube. So this is where I'm up to with Patient Stitcher. I'm just stitching the border at the moment, and I am using dinky dye threads for this particular border. The dinky dye thread is called Luna Park. It is a variegated thread, and I'm trying to be strategic with how it all works, because I'm just trying to make it cohesive and all the rest. So the good thing is it's not going to take up the entire fabric. In editing, I'm going to need to put a caption in for the lovely lady who passed this fabric or gifted this fabric to me, because I am feeling horrible that I didn't note down or remember. It'll be okay. I'll get there. I'm beating myself up over this one. So, as we've also hinted a little bit, I've got a few plans of stitching as far as spooky stitching is concerned. We've noted that I've got a couple of new charts that I haven't started yet, and I've got some plans on what fabric will go with those charts, and I'm looking forward to putting some time into those. And I've also got some existing patterns from last year, some existing whips from last year that I'm keen to put some more progress into as well within the realm of the spooky stitching. So as time goes on, you'll get to see what those projects are, what those whips are. I don't have any plans set in stone for what those projects will be. I think I'll probably even surprise myself as to what they'll be. I also have some other charts that I have been itching to start that may get started today or within the next few days as well. Noting that there is actually another one that I'm actually keen to work on that is from a magazine that I bought last year as well at the JK Stitching Retreat. It's the Just Cross Stitch 2022 Special Collector's issue of Halloween. So it's that magazine. And I'm actually keen to stitch the Raven, which is this particular piece here. And what I'm keen to do is, sorry again for all this rustling of noises with plastic and such, and me banging and clanging around here. So I've got this long piece of fabric. It's called Zweigart Even Weave Vintage. It's a 25 count fabric called Stormy Night, and it's a printed fabric. So on this side we see it as being a little bit of that grey kind of mottled look, so to speak, and then on the other side it's just a plain grey. And I've done a floss drop, and these are the colours that I'm actually keen on, if I can get this to work, that I'm keen to put onto this fabric to stitch the Raven. Whilst I can appreciate why it's called the Raven, because Nevermore is synonymous with the Raven, I know it's stitched in black. However, I think that these colours could work beautifully with it. So this variegated thread I bought last year, it's called Trick or Treat. And these other three colours are actually one that I bought as part of a fancy floss stash I was accumulating, or building rather, for the Gilmore Girls banner. And so, which is the Weeks Dye Works Fathom. And these other two threads, these both came with the stitching box for seasons 1 and 2 for Downton Abbey by the Black Needle Society. So I think that with all of these colours together, they're going to look pretty awesome for the Raven. Now, this will be a fairly small stitch where I think the Raven is only going to take up a small bit of the fabric. So this is the long banner. Now this is why I've chosen not to stitch any of the Witchy Stitcher pieces onto this, because this fabric's not big enough. So this is where you can hopefully see what I mean about the variegated or the mottled print, and then the side is just plain. So that's pretty much it for my stitching, everything that I've been working on. We've covered plans, we've covered the haul that I've got, we've covered the AFL Stitching Challenge, some of my pieces that I've been stitching for that. And I think it's been pretty cool, and I know that I've been yammering on for quite a bit now. So thank you all so much for spending some time with me and checking out all the different pieces that I've been working on. There's not been a lot of life stuff going on. The only bit of life stuff that I can really share is a few days ago I'd gone to the gym. I'm slowly working on improving my fitness because I've had some injuries that have stopped me from running, because whenever I've tried to run, it's either hurt too much or those injuries have flared up and caused life to be uncomfortable, movement to be uncomfortable. So I used some other gym equipment the other day, and thinking everything was all right. I was super proud of myself and chuffed with the effort that I'd put in. Then later that day, I'd gone for a walk, just a 10-20 minute walk around here at Wollongong. And then when I came back and started resting and relaxing a bit, my left knee started to feel uncomfortable, like it started swelling up. uncomfortable. And I am still scratching my head even a few days later, trying to figure out what exactly has happened to the knee. It is feeling a lot better. I think it's just a muscular thing. I might have overdone. I don't want to say overdone it or overdid it. I think it just might have been when my muscles were warm. I might have just stepped the wrong way, because some of the footpaths around here are annoyingly uneven, and it's just the way the world is. So it's more that I'm blaming myself for how I've stepped, and to then cause the muscles to react in that particular way. I might also be, some of my leg muscles might be quite tight as well. So again, I may not have stretched as much as what I need to or should have as well at the time. So there's a lot of elements going into it. So I am feeling a bit better now. I'm walking around okay, not limping as much, not looking as weird as I normally do with the way that I walk. I haven't gone to the doctor at all to get things checked out. To an extent, I probably should or should have, to get MRIs and similar scans just to find out if there's anything muscular that I've done, whether it's just been a strain or something to that effect. I'll monitor. I've iced it. I've taken some Nurofen to help with reducing the inflammation and such. So that's definitely helped a lot. Again, I'll just keep monitoring and just using the excuse of, oh damn, I have to sit down and stitch. I'll get up and get moving again, because I need to keep moving, because otherwise double chins are going to form too much that I won't be happy about as far as my body is concerned. So without further ado, that is that for the life update. Thank you for bearing with me. If you have made it this far, thank you again so much. I hope that you're able to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, make sure you click on that bell notification, so that way you get any notifications about upcoming words. They've all of a sudden just left me. I apologize. So if when you ring that little bell and highlight it, you will get notifications for when I upload future episodes of my Flosstube channel. So again, thank you again very much for spending time with me, and I will see you in another week or so for more stitching. See you, everyone.